everybody. Today I'm going to show you how to make my everyday bread recipe. This is a really good recipe me and my wife like. This is probably her favorite bread that she likes. Sorry the phone's shaky. I thought I had my other camera charged, but it's completely dead. So here's how I make my everyday bread recipe. I got 2/3 cups of warm water in here and a packet of yeast. Okay, so I can start proofing it. But I also add, the recipe will be down below. The recipe also calls for 2 tablespoons of sugar. I put that in there also. And you can see it's just barely starting to bubble. And usually I keep that in there for, 10 minutes. So, and then all you have to, this recipe actually calls for 2/3 cup milk. I use water for 2 reasons. 1, I can warm it to make sure the yeast is okay. And 2, we don't keep milk around the house. So I'm slightly lactose intolerant, which means I can have cheese and stuff like that, but milk, no way. It'll go right through me. So then what I do is I add some powdered milk. So basically the recipe is your yeast, and use a packet of yeast. Don't use bread machine yeast. It just doesn't work as good. So just get a packet of yeast. They're inexpensive and they work great. 2 tablespoons of sugar, 2/3 cup milk or water with about 2 tablespoons of, if you use water, use 2 tablespoons of powdered milk. Teaspoon of salt, 2 eggs, 2 tablespoons of butter, 2 tablespoons of honey, and depends on where you're at, 3 to 4 cups of flour, but generally it's about 3.5 cups. You can see how I measure. I am not exact at all. So that's it for now. I'll show you when I'm adding the flour, but it'll be in a couple minutes. You can see it's just starting. I'll show you what it looks like when it's going. So that's it. And again, you don't need a mixer for this recipe. You can make this in a bowl and use your hand and knead it by hand. You do not need a mixer. I didn't have one of these for 20 years, my KitchenAid, and I just got it a couple months ago and I love it. Should have got it a long time ago, but it's one of those things we just held off on. So KitchenAids are great, especially if you want to make your own bread. So nice thing about this recipe, as I forgot to say, is it seems to last longer. Most homemade breads after 3-4 days start to go moldy. This does not. I don't know if it's the egg or what, but the egg and the honey do something where it turns into a good loaf. So I'll come back in a couple minutes and show you when I'm adding the rest of the ingredients. All right, let's continue. You can see it bubbling a little bit. Now down here, the only thing I added was the 2 eggs whole, just 2 eggs whole. With one hand with this camera here. Sorry, it's a little shaky. I didn't want to try that with one hand, but all I'm doing is, make sure it's raised up. Turn it on low. And I just cut the butter up in little squares to make it incorporate a little better. And actually can be a little higher. Salt. Yeah, that's going to be a hard one too here. Actually, I have some. Himalayan salt here, so you want a teaspoon. There you go. And we'll add the honey. You can see how precise I am. I just go till I get about 2 tablespoons. This little bear's coming down to the end. There we go. Now, this isn't a sweet bread recipe. A lot of people think it's sweet with the sugar and the honey. They just add a touch of sweetness to this recipe, and it's really good. It does add something, but it's by no means a sweet bread recipe. And a couple tablespoons of the powdered milk. Now, for me it's about 3.5 cups. This is a cup measuring spoon, one of these. I know right about that's about a cup. So just add it in slow so I don't have a big powdery mess all over. And you can always add a little more flour later. So there, that other yolk just broke. So you don't have to do it all overload. You can also add a teaspoon of water later, but don't add more than a teaspoon at a time if it seems too dry. And I'll show you what it's supposed to kind of be like. There's 3. And about a half. Okay. I can probably go one more higher. Speed things up a little bit. The camera shows it. When I look through it, maybe it'll come out different later. When I see it here, it looks really yellow, like yolk yellow. When I look down here, it looks almost same dough color, but oh well. But there it kind of looks like mustard almost. So you can see it's starting to incorporate the flour from the sides. And I want to show you how this comes together. I hope this isn't too boring. To show you how to add a little flour and kind of the right stickiness, let me say it's the best term, when you let this knead it for 10 minutes. Okay, I'm going to go one more, see if I make a mess. Nope. A spatula. You can see how you can turn it off and scrape the sides down. I really don't, because you can see how it just incorporates it as it goes. And I think that mixes all your ingredients a little better too, but that's me. I could all be, just think it's, You can see how it's pretty much all come together. There's still just a little bit on the sides. Here's what I do is I stop it, and I do feel it. And it's just a little, it's sticky. You want it just barely tacky. But this is quite sticky still. So I'm gonna turn it on. And I probably only add about that much. It was probably about 2 tablespoons maybe at a time. Usually it doesn't take much, and usually you can tell by looks how it is, and I'll show you. Let this go for a minute. Yeah, I can tell that's okay, just how it looks in the bowl, how it's kind of like really, it's all clumped together, and how it's not folding. But I still like feeling it. Yeah, it's just barely tacky. The moisture will absorb into the flour later. Now, I just let this run for 10 minutes. That's it. That's all you do. See you in a little bit. All right, so going for about 10 minutes. I did add about 2 more tablespoons of flour. So, let's turn this off here. It's gonna be pretty hard with one hand. Wish I had my other camera. So, let's take that off. Take the bowl out. When you do it, that should just come right out. And here's your dough, right there. All you're gonna do now is form this into a ball, put it in here, and then push it down. I'll show you after it's in here, but just form that into a smooth ball and put it in. I'll show you that there's no way with one hand. So that's pretty self-explanatory. Just form it into a ball. I'll show you that when I get to that point. Okay, you can see what I did. And you can see the bowl comes out real clean when you do it right. See how I just made it? The top is pretty smooth. I'm not making this a perfect bread. If you want this to be really perfect, see these little creases here? You don't want them. They'll show up in the finished product. And what I do is I just push it down to make it even inside here. These lumps you see at the fingers, they'll be gone when it raises. Just so it's even across. Like I says, I'm not making a perfect loaf. This is my home loaf, and it still comes out good. I just put it, cover it, and this is going to depend on the temperature. I'll show you what it looks like when it's done rising. It's really going to depend on the temperature. It's a little cooler out. It's springtime here, so we don't have the heat or the air on, and the house stays 66, 67 to 75 pretty much all day night. So it's in the morning, so it's on the cooler end. Oh, got something on there. Don't know what that is, but that's part of this stain on the towel. Okay. But just make sure you use a clean towel, obviously. That was something from the counter, I guess, a little bit ago. So, but for me this time of year, I know this is going to take about an hour, maybe an hour and a half. It is going to rise, but in summertime it's a lot quicker. So I'll show you what that looks like so you know what to do and everything like that. So that's it. I hope everybody, and I'll show you the next step when I get there. Hopefully this is enjoyable so far. Okay, it's been going about an hour and a half raising. You can see here it rose up a little bit. You can see those little marks when I pound it down, but that's it. And you can see above the pan it's a little bit, and this is just a stone. Now, I did preheat the oven about 20 minutes ago to 350. So let's put this bad boy in. Here's where everyone's going to be a little different. Mine, it's about 42 minutes. So I just throw it in the oven. I check it after 35. That's it. I'll show you. Okay, it was 36 minutes. Here's the loaf. Just took it out, put it here. Ooh, still a little warm. But that's it. There's the loaf. You can see it is really, really, really good loaf. It has, you can see, if you look right there, see how it's kind of yellow? It isn't white. It does have a little yellow tint from the yolk, but really good bread recipe. Try this, make it. You guys will like it. Hope everybody enjoyed this video. Bye.